This video, I'm going to show you how to collect descriptive statistics using R. We're going to learn how to get the mean, median, and mode, which of course are measures of central tendency. They tell us what a typical score is. I'm also going to show you how to get the variance and the standard deviation, which are measures of spread. Are the scores spread out, or are they grouped relatively close together? All right, so notice on line number 7 here, I have some code. Actually, this is not code. Notice that the first character here is a number sign. What that tells R is that to ignore everything that follows that number sign. And so what you can do is you can include notes to yourself. So I've included a note here that this is the beginning of activity number 2. Note that you can place these after some actual code. So in line 12 here, we have some code that we want R to execute, but then we put a note beside it, and R will ignore everything to the right of this number sign. So the code here is going to restrict analysis to cars made in the US, right? So it'll execute the code, but it'll ignore the note. All right, so in our first line of code here, we are creating a variable called age. We're assigning a group of 6 numbers, so we concatenate them first, right? That's what the C function here is. And I'll hit command return to execute this code. Oops. And we can see in the console that now we have a variable called age, and we also see it up in the environment, a new variable called age. It's a numerical variable with 6 values, 36, 42, 43, 37, 40, and 45. And if we want to know what the average age is, then we use the mean function. So mean is another way of talking about average, right? So mean, and then in brackets, we have the variable that we want to collect the mean from. That's age. And so command return, and we can see that the average age is 40.5, and this appears in the console. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to move on to, we're going to collect some means, and then we're going to tell R that we only want to select a subgroup of the cases in order to collect the mean from. And we're going to use a longer, more complicated data frame. It's called Cars93. It's available in the mass package, which I showed you how to locate before. Notice that in order for this code to work, I have to make sure that the mass package is activated, right? So if I go mass here, I can see, oh, it's not activated here. So I'm going to click inside that square. And now it's been added to the library and it's available. And so just to take a quick look at it, we can use the edit function, right? And Cars93 is the name of the data frame. So if I hit command enter here, now we've got the data editor comes up, and we can see all the different variables that are a part of this database. So we've got manufacturer with different cars, Acura, Buick, Cadillac, different models, type, small, mid-size, compact, and so on and so forth, how much they cost. And we're just going to stretch this open so maybe we can see all of the variables here. We got miles per gallon, number of cylinders, horsepower. So some of these variables we're going to be interested in using today, including type, horsepower, and cylinders, and then also origin, which is not quite visible here, but it's also in the database. All right. Still don't see origin. That's fine. Okay. So what I want to do first is I'm going to take the mean of the horsepower variable. And so remember that the way we do this is we identify the data frame, Cars93. We'd identify the variable that we want, which is horsepower, and then we connect it using that $sign. All right. So I'll just back up a little bit here. So let's say that I was typing this code for the first time, right? And as I type it'll suggest Cars93 because the mass package has been selected. So this data frame is available to me. So it recognizes it and suggests it. So yes, that's what I want. And then when I hit the $sign, notice that all of the different variables that are associated with that data frame pop up, the manufacturer, model, type, and so on and so forth. And so I can scroll down and select horsepower. All right, so out of curiosity, what is the average amount of horsepower? So command return. The average horsepower of the cars in that database is 143.83. All right, now if I just want to take a subset of all of the cars in that database, then I can use the with command or the with function. Now, the with function operates a little bit differently. So notice that when we use the with function, we don't have to use the $ in order to connect the data frame to the specific variable. So the code here says with cars 93. So go to this data frame, and I want you to calculate the mean. I'm telling R, calculate the mean of horsepower, but only for those cases where the origin, that is the variable origin in that data frame, matches, right? That's what two equal signs says. It's not equals, it's matches USA. And USA is a categorical variable with a label USA, and so that's why it has to be in quotation marks, all right? And what this is going to do is going to restrict the analysis to cars made in the US. All right, so if I hit command and then return, I can see that the horsepower is a little bit higher than the average horsepower overall, right? It's 147.52. You are not limited to a single restriction here. We can do more than that. So in the second line 13 here with cars 93, now I want the mean of the mean horsepower of vehicles that are manufactured in the United States and also have 4 cylinders. In this case, cylinders is a quantitative variable, so I don't put quotation marks around the number 4. Right? And command return, and we see that the horsepower is a little bit lower for 4-cylinder vehicles. It's only 104.09. All right, so let's move on and see how to collect the median. You don't have to sort before you collect the median, but I'm going to do so just so that I can introduce the sort function, right? So sort is the function name and age. So I want to take my 6 ages and then present them in increasing order. So command return. And so we can see that's 36, 37, 40, 42, 43, 45. And one reason why I want to do this is because we can see from these 6 values that the median should be between the 3rd and 4th ages, right? Between 40 and 42. So the median should be 41. So median is itself a function, right? So median, and then in brackets we put age, the variable of interest, and command return, and we can see that yes, indeed, it's 41. All right, so next is the mode. Now R does not calculate the mode for you. You could, of course, create a histogram and then look at the histogram and you would know what the mode is. But other users have created a package that will calculate the mode, and it's called Modest. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, it's Modeest. It does not come preloaded with RStudio or with R. Also, it's not one of the packages that is readily available that you just have to click on in order to activate it. But you can install it by using this command, install.packages, and then Modest in quotation marks. Now, watch what happens when I execute this code. Command return. So we see install packages. Oh, now it's installing the package to this location. It went to the URL to find it, and it downloaded it. And so now it's available in our packages. So if I search for Modest, and oh, there it is. So it wasn't there before, but it is now. So now I can click it, and now all of the functions that were involved in Modest are now available to me. And the one we're interested in is called MFV, most frequent value, or the mode. And this time, remember that mode is used for categorical variables. So we're going to use the type variable from the cars 93 data frame. And if we execute this command here, or this function, then command return, we can see that the most common type of car was midsize. And it even tells us what all of the levels that could have been or that are involved in the database. So there's compact cars, there's large cars, midsize, small, sporty, and van. Midsize is the most common, most frequent value. All right, so a couple more lines here. If we want to calculate the variance, then we use the var function for variance. and we're going to look at the amount of variability in the horsepower variable in the Cars 93 data frame. So command return, and we see that the variance is 2,743.08. Of course, the variance itself is difficult to interpret because it's not in the same units as the original data. And so what we're actually interested in is the standard deviation. So the function for standard deviation is SD, and then in brackets, again, Cars 93 with the horsepower variable connected using the $sign. So command return. And so the standard deviation is 52.37 horsepower. Finally, this is a really handy command. Let's say that you want the mean, you want the median, you want the quartiles, you want the minimum and the maximum. Then you can get it all at once using the summary function, right? So summary, and then again in brackets, we have Cars 93, $sign horsepower, and command return, and we can see there it is. So minimum is 55, maximum horsepower is 300, the median is 140, the mean is 143.8, first quartile is 103, third quartile is 170. All right, and that's it for this video.